This is the culmination of Cohort 4. My name is Mark. I'm one of the co-founders at NEXUS. Supposed to have people joining in to watch the demo day today.
I'm Anthony, founder of ADK and lead of ESG program.
So yeah, another 8 weeks has come to an end, and it's been a pleasure to welcome the cohort on board. Just to let you know how today's going to be running. It's a really relaxed affair. We're going to be hearing some great ideas from participants on today's program, on this year's program, last cohort's program. We had about 40 participants in total.
Yep.
Got 5 presentations today, which I'm sure you're going to find really interesting. We'll have a slant, one way, shape, or form on ESG, environment, social, and governance. And yeah, can't wait for that. We're also going to be hearing from Andrew
Block, founder of ClickTrain, an AI platform that's looking to revolutionize how pay-per-click is done around the world and bring much more transparency to the industry. And he's one of the great session leads that we've had on this particular program and previous programs as well.
Cool. And just a quick nod and a thank you to London South Bank University, NSBU. NEXUS has now got an official partnership with NSBU as our academic partner. So we're working a lot more closely with NSBU, and through their academics, they'll be able to bring their insights and their academia to support our founders within NEXUS, particularly when it comes to things around R&D and furthering the different ideas that presenting or that we have as businesses. So yeah, let's kick off. The cohort, how do you define it?
This year's cohort has been brilliant. This is our 4th cohort now, and we've had some amazing founders and companies throughout past previous cohorts building amazing ideas all across different facets of ESG. This cohort in particular was one of my favorites. And I know that sounds like a very typical thing to say, but actually for very good reason. When we look at ESG and everything that it's aiming to achieve, as I say, we often look at maybe the outward impacts of ESG, like climate, sustainability, all of those different things. In the environment field, it also includes social impact and the ability to govern companies really well. And that's why we focus on some of the things that we focus on in the program, especially in terms of solving real world problems, building products that customers will use and love and have material benefit in their lives, understanding the market, having great business models, being sustainable in terms of your business model as well, and having a great team, ethics, diversity, all of those different things. And these are some of the things that our cohort learned about on this program. But some of the things that really stood out to me from this cohort was the potential impacts of their ideas. If you imagine some of these companies growing, and that's what I always have to do as someone who accelerates many companies, advises a lot of startups, invests into startups, I always imagine, what would this company look like when it grows? And you take some of the ideas we've seen on this particular cohort, you ask yourself, what would these companies look like at scale? Growing. One of the themes that comes to mind when I think of them is generational impact, is that they will impact a generation beyond their own years. Companies like Loop, where they're revolutionizing how consumers may consume fashion by having a rental model to rent clothes rather than just consume them. You can imagine what that might look like at scale, where our footprint is reduced incredibly through not having to purchase and throw clothes away all the time. When you look at companies like 13th, where they're impacting companies across the continent of Africa, growing companies internationally, and they're reinvesting back into their home country. Imagine what that might look like at scale. Similar with Annan House Community School, trying to impact and develop an initiative where homeschooling becomes a reality for children who do not or may not in schools currently. All of these companies would have generational impact. We're going to hear some of them a little later on as we go through the pitches.
Yeah, look, I can't wait. And it's also interesting just to hear mention some of the companies. And when I think back to when the program started, where some of the ideas were to that's where they are now. I think the thing that we find most rewarding doing the program is the real impact that the speakers, people like Andrew, have on helping to shape thought patterns by lending that expertise. And it's something that I've really enjoyed from this program is the energy from the founders, the positiveness and the desire to reach out to us offline, to ask questions, to bounce pitch decks off us. There's been a very positive energy, and the word I used earlier actually was generational. When it comes to actually probably most of the problems in the world, generational wealth is probably the cause to that. How generational wealth is passed down, it's kept within a certain class or ecosystem, class system. On the flip side, by creating and embedding good ESG principles across the startup community, then that generational impact can be magnified in a more positive way. And when we always talk about, with ESG, shareholder and stakeholder, different, I guess, desires, both, and also referencing back to your point around when we hear about ESG, there is, quite rightly so, a lot of talk and a narrative is about climate change, which should have been at the forefront of many agendas many years ago. It's great that we're hearing about it now, but what we shouldn't forget, what we try to share on the program and amongst our founders and our member network is how can you take the ESG principles and just start to become a good company? If you're a good company, then by virtue, you start to carry yourself in a way and design a culture in your company that has the benefits, which has a long-lasting impact on the climate, just by being a good company. So it's very important not to forget about the S, and also about the G. How can you create a company with good relationship with your employees by looking at how you can bring on additional expertise to further your company, new ideas. Again, when I'm speaking with Rachel before the project started, she told me about being aboard a new co-founder, impact having a co-founder can have further a business. Quite often, again, as founders, we can operate silo, and that's where we become stuck. But by bringing aboard new expertise, maybe someone from a different background has a different way of thinking, who can help us see our own blind spots, that just helps us develop and create a vision that we may not see, we may not recognize, and they help us see our blind spots. So yeah, it's one of the most pleasing parts of the program, just to see that the social aspect of the ESG being brought out in the ideas that we're hearing about. Like you said, what the impacts of that might be going forward. And I guess taking where the founders are and looking at it at where we are right now in a global setting. I think we touched on it last time as well, the last cohort, issues around prices. We've got global inflation causing a lot of issues to many people. And what do you think the founders should be bearing in mind now as they're evolving their business ideas, or as they're moving from idea to seed or on that curve of, I guess, accelerated growth? How can they be mindful around the impacts that inflation is having on their businesses, maybe their supply chains, or how they interact with their customers?
Yeah, I think one of the best and most safe positions to be in any business is to just have healthy revenue. There is really no substitute for it. On this program, or I guess on many programs, one of the focuses can be on how we raise investment. And that's great. It's great to be able to have a business that's able to raise investment from investors. And many startups do need it.
Yeah.
But at some point, we're going to have to figure out the holy grail of any startup business, which is how you generate revenue. And you generate revenue by servicing a customer with a product or a service that they value enough to exchange their money for your service or your product. And the only way to really figure that out is to really have a healthy discussion, dialogue with your customers from day one. That's something we learned very early on in this program, is the importance and necessity of simply talking to your customers. How do you have conversations with them where you're able to understand their pain points, their frustrations with things that may be already in the market but are not serving them too well? And that's where I think the rise of a lot of ESG-focused companies is going to have, is that we see this evolving sentiment with markets, the world, people, customers, where we just aren't happy with what's just there for the sake of it being there. We want things that serve us better. We want things that are more sustainable, more ethically sourced, that have a better impact on our environment, or not just environment as a whole, but also on our communities, families, you name it. We're expecting companies to have thought these things through. That's one of the characteristics that we hope to see in companies that come through this program, where they have thought about how am I building something that actually serves a market or a customer need.
So it's funny, it's almost like one of the governing principles of startup business or running a business, customer. Are we talking to our customers? And it's not only customers, but it's also, you mentioned investors. There was a study that Amazon commissioned, so Amazon, who run their own incubator, they run that accelerator program, as a research company, just undertake some top-line research amongst the VC community on how they look at startups now and whether ESG or sustainability issues play a part in their decision making. And I think the number was closer to 80% of them now ask the founders what their attitudes are to sustainability. And it's something that shouldn't be missed from the startup community, because it's becoming ever more prevalent now. And it's not just, are you in the business of being a sustainable business? It's not just, are you a social enterprise? It's, you can be a tech company with the most amazing idea that's going to take us to Mars. The question that will still be asked is, what's your impact? What are your sustainability objectives? And if that is still foreign to you as an idea, then where we sit right now, we can honestly say we struggle moving forward. Because not only will your customers demand it, because they are demanding it now, it's becoming more of a mainstream norm, but the investor community will start asking that question. So if you're not asking the question yourself, open your ears and listen to those around you. It is such an important feature of how the business community is moving forward. Yeah, not just the business community from top end, top corporates, it starts like grassroots level.
Cool. All right. So yeah, as you mentioned, our cohort were fortunate enough to learn from some brilliant existing founders who built great companies on this program. One of those individuals who's been session lead on our program for a while is an incredible founder who's built multiple companies. And I think one of the things that our cohort really appreciated from him was his candidness and his openness about his journey, his flaws, his failures, as well as his successes. Andrew has now moved on to a new venture called ClickTrain, which is aiming to really transform the way we look at the whole online ad space. and bringing much more transparency to types of things that we see online, how they get there, how they're paid for. And he's got a brilliant new venture that he's going to share more with us about right now. Andrew, you there?
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Anthony. Hear me. Yeah, appreciate the kind words. It's really been a good cohort. I think a good group, and yeah, appreciate that my candidness could be helpful. It is not it's not easy starting a business at all, and being entrepreneurial is a blessing and a curse at times, if you're that way inclined. Great. So yeah, I get to share a little bit around my journey with ClickTrain and where we're at, and I've mentioned in kind of some of the sessions, but yeah, let's go for it. So ClickTrain's goal is to democratize the paid media space with AR. We believe that this is going to create more opportunities for all agencies and marketers in the industry. This is going to result in a low barrier of entry for marketing startups. It's quite a challenge as a startup entering into the paid media space. So this is where we come in. And our final goal is to build a project called the Glassbid. And this is going to bring fairness and transparency to 1% of major ad auctions at the moment, based on our predictions. And we believe this is likely going to result in a global savings of ad spend, just for startups, to put that in scope, not just, I mean, it's much bigger than that, but in the startup space of about $156 million per year. It's quite a bit of money that goes to Facebook and Google. At the moment, we're looking for partners. We're just openly sharing this idea out there. We believe we can manage more and really have more influence if we get other partners along the journey. But yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. Essentially, we're looking for government help across to really regulate, ad auctions out there, and for other partners in the space who are open to partnering with us. But we're just going to stay the course of our little 1.2% of a very big market, and see if we get there. Essentially, one of the problems that we're trying to solve in the end game, well, we want to understand how startups spend their venture capital. Where does that money go? How can they spend that better and predict using Glassbid as to where that spend should go? We know that there's huge amounts that go into ad spend as it stands, and there's a challenge of dominance with large digital marketplaces spending 5 to 12% of their turnover as a large company just to protect their space on Google, for instance. And this creates a very difficult market for startups to get into. So we built a whole suite. Essentially, you might be asking, what is ClickTrain as a whole? Well, it's a global marketplace that benchmarks agencies essentially against one another, and then matches brands with the best agencies on the platform for their particular niche. And then we also have an AR tool that powers everything, and this suggests changes within the ad accounts to help brands and agencies make better decisions within there. So we've got products within the suite. It's really been a long journey to get here, and we intend to keep going. But initially built an agency and realized that there were limitations on running an agency, that there were challenges that you could only solve by building a platform. We wanted to bring transparency to the industry, and we realized this was only possible within, the scope of the number of accounts and hours we had. So went back to the drawing board. We launched ClickTrain AR last year, October. It's still in beta, and it's really going well. We've just launched ClickTrain Search, and that is essentially the public benchmarking platform. And all of this is geared to build towards Glassbid. We've got the domain, and we're looking to build quite a collaborative project on that, partnering with other brands. Our core team is myself and Matthew Betts. We've worked together in different capacities for the last 10 years. I've got experience in 7 years of paid media marketing, worked at 3 different agencies, do public speaking on the topic, and a big fan of entrepreneurship as a whole. If you want to hear more about our story, we've got a YouTube video that you can go check if you find ClickTrain's YouTube channel. And we've got a team of specialists, the agency behind us, which is really helping and, cheering us on to go forward. I've now exited the agency and just focused fully on ClickTrain, which has been quite a fun experience going back to founder stage entirely. But with them behind us, I'm sure we can do it. We've got Anthony and Chris advising us, which has been super helpful to, get us some external inputs from there. But yeah, I've got a bit of a product deep dive. Maybe just to check, Anthony, do we still have time to go through some more details? I'll take that as a yes. Cool. So yeah, ClickTrain, AI. So maybe you're a bit interested in how this whole marketplace, how everything fits in together. ClickTrain AI is the first tool we built within the suite. This is a PPC management assistant, and it learns from changes that are made. Essentially, the problem is that time and in short supply when scaling a PPC account. So the solution we found is that you need AI and a PPC manager working together. So these are all the different aspects you have to consider when managing a Google Ads account. And using ClickTrain collectively, you can manage in conjunction with the AI, where it can start learning on certain areas, help you out where you are struggling. And then once you train it, inversely, it can take over, and then you can move on to a new area thereafter. Essentially, the reasons behind this is you need to scale paid media accounts. It's really hard to find a good manager and to distill their genius. You might be able to get their time as a freelancer or in a large agency for a small portion of time on their account. We help you scale by really distilling the genius of what's going on. We give more power to brands so that they can actually scale their Google Ads accounts by linking additional pieces of data, which I won't get into now. You need more transparency. Auctions are getting really complicated. Prices are, global inflation's not just happening in the world, it's happening in the ad space, and we're bringing transparency through ClickTrain AI as a tool, which is then going to power glass bid. But yeah, this is a big core value. And lastly, if you worked at an agency or at a brand, you might know tech changes, agency staff change. We're looking to bring continuity through the platform by, creating an outsourced exterior footprint of what happened in the accounts, and then to help new managers take over from there. Then we've got ClickTrain Search, which essentially solves one really big problem, and that's growing a digital marketing agency is not easy. If any of you have tried, you'll know that your time to split between all these things, much like running any business, but an agency just tends to be one of those very difficult, time-consuming, time management issues. So your resource and time is, splits across everywhere. So we also know that building a funnel to get inbound leads coming through takes a lot of time. And when you're getting started, you need some new business, to keep things, to generate revenue, to get going. So essentially, we help you with that. We bring high intent in market brands that search for you on the platform. They're looking for an agency. This brings continuity through our whole machine that we manage for you, so that you get a constant flow of leads coming through as you are scaling, your agency from there. And together, because they're looking at all these different parameters and actually being matched to you, you own your niche, and it becomes a lot simpler to win new business. This is what our listing looks like. If you go on our platform and you link and pay for an enhanced listing, it gives the end brand user a whole bunch more information around who you are as an agency, your niche, and really attracts the right type of business to match to you. And that is our end game of Blast Bid, where we want to land up eventually, and a product deep dive on the two products that we have, ClickTrain Search and AI at the moment. Cool.
Thank you, Andrew. That is a really insightful look into what's your new venture. And we're really excited to have you on the program to share a lot of your experience with our founders. And we wish you all the best with your new venture.
Yeah, looking forward to this. And just before I just also echoing Anthony's words, Andrew, you've been for us through all 4 cohorts now, and there's always positive feedback. And yeah, really looking forward to see how you're going to disrupt the space and upset Google.
Yeah, we'll keep that one in the hush. We'll run as long as we can before we get noticed. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let's get cracking.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hear from a few of our cohort from this particular program. We're going to have 4-minute pitches from each of our cohort that's been selected to pitch today. And each of them are going to take you through their idea. And then, yeah, hear what they're doing. So first up, we have Shanthi, founder of Annan House Community School. Over to you, Shanthi.
Good morning, everyone. So yes, so what I'm pitching you today is Annan House Community School. And essentially, the problem is that according to UNICEF, 61 million children worldwide don't attend primary school. And 250,000 of those children are in Ghana, where actually primary education is free. And so it's very clear that the existing school system essentially is failing to meet their parents' needs and expectations. And I've discovered that quite a number of these parents really value work over school to make ends meet. And so we've concluded from that the parents of these children really do need an accessible and familiar and unique solution that's actually designed to meet their needs. And so this solution looks like Annan House Community School, which is a home-from-home school that's brought to a community with eco-friendly classrooms made out of actually construction waste. And these units are modular, expandable environments that are conducive for small group learning. And we're going to offer a vocationally enhanced curriculum delivered by a volunteer network of qualified teachers and instructors, and looking to equip these structures with some high-tech elements that can connect local children with teachers and educational content from around the world. So if you look at it, it's a home-from-home eco-learning environment, quality primary and vocational education, small group sizes, flexible time schooling options, mid to low market tuition fees, and bursaries and scholarships. We would need parent and teacher networks, industry partners, and volunteers to get this running in the communities. And this is just a little diagram of our thinking, but if you think about future academic vocational primary school, with focus on quality skills education. And so in terms of the roadmap, it's looking like that we would start off as we are right now. I started homeschooling my children because of COVID. And essentially, I hired actually professional teachers. So there's a team of professional teachers, and there's a space at the back of my house to develop. And so as a prototype MVP, I'm proposing to essentially expand that school up to maybe 10 children. So really make sure that we professionalize. There's all sorts of health and safety, all sorts of licensing, right? Go through that process in the house there. And then to move on to, and we're going to we already operate with the UK Cambridge curriculum, but to look at how we can then, because we usually go through it faster because it's small groups, then we can add the modules that are more vocationally focused and start to innovate on the curriculum there in that safe space. And then from there, looking at the possibility then to move forwards and create these Saturday school moments. So I could again start that here just to start it off, but then you could take that quite more easily around to the communities because it's much more portable. And then you can look at developing it and making sure that you're meeting the needs of the teachers, the parents and children in that way. So you're starting to test that side. And then, you can move on to then holiday camps so that there's another little product offering, but that way you're then looking at your operations. So you're looking at, how did the teachers network really work? How have you expanded that teachers network to cover how many holiday camps? Are things running on time? Like it's one day is a very different thing than running each day. So looking at operationally building. So this is a really iterative journey, basically. And then from there, already we'll have had built operations partnerships, curriculum, and teachers to service these things already. But from there, we'd be looking at developing the curriculum further so that we can create it into a scalable online offering. There are lots of homeschools anyway out there looking for curriculums, as well as schools and other organizations. So we could look at how do we actually really make sure this is robust and move it towards being accredited in some way. And then the teachers network to grow alongside that at that stage. And we can offer and scale up the teachers through teachers training, essentially. So by offering teachers training and bringing in the teachers in that time and space. And then by then, you've really tested this out at the end of the day. And so the idea would then be to work with the existing partners and networks to fund and launch the first satellite community school. So this Home from Home school, the one that started in the back of my garden, that then will actually be out there. And maybe this one doesn't need to exist, or it can go on to be a private school in its own right that can circle back funds. But it means that then we've done the first community school out of the community, and then can grow from there. So that's essentially the plan in terms of the team right now. Obviously, there's me at the helm here, but then, as I told you, I have 3 qualified primary school teachers that come in each morning. We have 5 extracurricular activity teachers as well. 2 of them are national champions in dance and karate. And we have a university professor involved from the University of Ghana, who's really developing out the music curriculum. So it shows there's this opportunity and wealth of knowledge out here that we can tap into and involve all people and reach more children out here in Ghana. So that is essentially the solution. And the ask is really at this stage, I'm really just in the MVP stage on the first MVP. And so I am always looking for curriculum partners, any teaching networks to start establishing those relationships to see what's possible there, and also looking at platforms around that. And then any education funders to start talking about how the best way to structure would be in order to support children with funding their education as they may need that, and industry partners, because there's an opportunity for each of these schools to be sponsored. If you're having, for example, you're reaching a fishing community, and if you're reaching a fishing community, you can tailor the education to that industry, for example. And you can do that in many other applications and see where the industry partners can fit in. And then they could even sponsor a school. So I think it'd be great to also talk to industry partners looking to close the skills gap. So yeah, that's everything in a nutshell.
Cool. That's amazing, Shanthi. Thanks for sharing that. And it's been a pleasure to have you on the program. I think it's almost ironic that talking about ESG, and it's in 2004 where your father-in-law actually coined and brought ESG to the table, and the late Annan. And I think just hearing what you're doing and touching on what Anson said about the generational impacts of this at scale is tremendous. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how this evolves and develops.
Great, thank you for the call.
Next up, we have Rashawn, founder of LEPC. Rashawn, to you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Rashawn Richards, and this is an LEPC investors proposal. LEPC is a star content production company. We stand for Live, Endeavor, Prosper, Create, as well as telling raw and positive storytelling and bringing voice to the unheard in society. Under LEPC, my role is founder and executive producer, and I have a strong, diverse skilled team, as well as a vast pool of advisors and mentors from companies such as Banijay, Mediacom, and Megadoc. LEPC covers production from development and ideation all the way to distribution, and our product can be split into 3 parts. We have original production for LEPC content, creative support for businesses, and a collective support funnel for freelancers. Our business and revenue model can also be split into 3 parts, with business to customer for production support for freelance collective members, and business to business for creative support to community impacting companies, and a business to customers support for LEPC original content. Our revenue model is pay-as-you-go for small businesses and independent artists, a subscription for retainer clients, and a marketplace, which is a corporate level pay-as-you-go. The problem in the creative industry from the past has been lack of representation and lack of diversity. This is something that we hope to improve in the near future. And as you can see in our market, there has been a huge dip in numbers from during the COVID-19 pandemic. But as you can see from the recent increase in numbers, there's still want and need for our services. Our route to market, we have a large partnership network with companies such as Create Jobs, Mediarite, Bannerjay, Mumba Youth, and so more, and much more. Our traction has seen a steady growth from partnering with Nike to supporting startup businesses and expanding our LEPC team. We hope to continue growing through multiple retainer clients and building our LEPC network. Our competition, like the companies listed below, they all focus on a single area, such as youth in London, where we differ and we hold no biases, and we want to focus on a vast number of topics and areas to do with our society and our communities. Our roadmap, after finishing the accelerator program, we hope to continue growing our number of customers and collective members and eventually reaching a global outreach. Our ESG that we hope to maintain and address are diversity, ethically, accessibility, and social. We ask only for an introduction to organizations, as well as a starter investment of 164K, which can be broken down into 5 areas as seen in the graph, which are equipment and software, emergency budget, our common projects, legal department, and facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much for showing. That was a brilliant pitch. You've had what I think is a really interesting journey in this program in terms of putting together a lot of your existing ideas and thinking about how you want to grow LEPC in the future. How has the program been for you in terms of helping to shape your thinking on that?
I would say a lot of help. It's given me and my team a lot more to think about. We had a lot more structure to how we plan stuff. Even though we had a lot already in our business plan, it was just structuring it, finding the ways of the right communication and words to use and the right kind of methods to use it in, and just understand the business and ecosystem world more, just how to impact it and how we can actually get more out of it as well as giving into it. So yeah, it's very much helpful.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's been great to listen to you pitch. I know that engaging with obviously my co-founder, my business partner Farouk, ahead of the program, and yeah, looking forward to working with you, documenting stories going forward.
I'll wait.
Brilliant. Well done, Rashawn. Next up, we've got Rachel, co-founder of Flute. Over to you, Rachel.
Hi guys, thank you so much. Perfect. Okay, cool. So I'm Rachel, co-founder of The Curated Loop, and we're on a mission to revolutionize the way people consume fashion by making unique items available to rent. Fast fashion produces up to 92 billion tons of waste per year. Sustainable fashion has definitely been a hot topic over the last couple of years, but sustainable, slow, and emerging brands don't have the visibility they need. These brands have hundreds of sample sets and dead stock just sitting, gathering dust. Our solution is the Curated Loop. So we're a platform and a community to showcase these unique samples, providing designers a platform to monetize their dead stock, but also giving consumers a unique experience to rent individual pieces. The market opportunity is huge. Clothing rental is set to hit 5.7 billion by 2026, with the UK and Europe accounting for a quarter of that. Our business model, as part of this growth and into the market, is B2C and B2B. Our route to market includes focusing on the growing demographic of younger millennials and Gen Z women who are eco-conscious and trend-driven. We have established relationships with the likes of Central St. Martin's and London College of Fashion, meaning we can leverage their student base as well as their designers. So far, it's been really positive. We're converting around 80% of our brand partners that we've approached, and we have an 100-strong list of partners, which is growing. We're projecting to quadruple our revenue by year 3, and we anticipate a jump in revenue by year 2 once we integrate our peer-to-peer system onto the platform. We've got a projected net profit of 500,000 by year 3. Our competitors have opened the market for us, and the market is rapidly growing. We're entering at a perfect time, having seen a gap in the market for monetizing dead stock and sample sets as part of an exclusive offering. We're aiming to launch our site by September 2020, so a kind of soft launch whereby we can gain valuable customer feedback, which we will then feed back into the system setup. We've got exciting plans for growth for next year and beyond, including expansion into new territories and integration of peer-to-peer, and of course, our live events. We're building our business with ESG at the forefront, with initiatives and partnerships with the likes of PEFC, as well as diversity employment strategies and emission-free deliveries, all within our frameworks. So Anna, my co-founder, and I have a combined experience of 15 years in the industry. And not only that, we've experienced these issues firsthand. We've got a strong advisory team at hand. And together we intend on building and leaving a lasting legacy that will benefit both people and the planet for years to come. We're seeking £100,000 of investment, which will enable us to deliver and market a competitive and scalable product. We're aiming to turn a profit by the end of year 1 with a projected return by the end of year 2. Thank you very much.
Rachel, amazing. It's great to see how you guys have come on leaps and bounds during this program. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed working with yourself and your co-founder Annan through this program. How has it helped you kind of shape your thinking? I see a name change there. Talk me through that.
There's been a whole load of changes during this course. So we started off with the concept, and I think the cohort and the program really enabled us to kind of just look at the business overall and kind of strip it back and just really define, 1, what was going to actually practically work, and 2, also just hone in on our USP to ensure that we could actually market it and scale it up. So I think the kind of thing itself, the experience itself has just been invaluable. I think all of the speakers have been great, and it's been, week after week, just really insightful.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
Thanks so much.
It's great to hear your pitch, Rachel, and also meet Anna beforehand as well. And hopefully we look forward to working with you going forward. It's an area which is, again, creating headlines to throwaway culture, upcycling, making use of existing assets, products. So looking forward to swapping clothes. Perhaps.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Pam, founder of Jane Can Do. Really looking forward to hearing from Pam. So over to you, Pam. Your 4-minute pitch starts now.
Hi. So for the last few weeks, I'm looking for a videographer. I work as a creative strategist, so that is key part of things I do. And unfortunately, I have interviewed 8 people, and so far only one of them has been a woman, which is the only requirement I have when looking for this videographer. The only requirement the client gave me was a woman. Unfortunately, I have not been able to interview more than one woman in the last few weeks. But the problem is women are 24% more likely to be hired when doing an interview. So my question, your question, everybody's question should always be, where are the women? Because I have been working in the creative sector for the last 10 years over, and I have worked with many, many women. But when it comes down to hiring and finding the right people for a job, recommendations, suggestions, social media, it always boils down to who has the most affluence, who has the most influence. And usually it's not women. As someone who works in the creative industry, it's also problematic for me because that is a 600 plus billion industry. And that makes me wonder where the money is going. And I wanted to do something about that because I believe that change always starts with you. And hi, I think my name is Pam, and I'm a creative strategist and founder of Jane Can Do. Jane Can Do is a network of African female creators for professional and political change. Because at Jane Can Do, we believe that change is systematic. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen without data. And so for us, we decided to combine the two, have a platform that gives us access to data, and then we can use that data to influence policy. We can use that data to actually back up recommendations, suggestions, and policy design, especially in a continent like ours, where policy or lack of influences your life heavily. This is, I feel, one of the most important things that I could ever do in my lifetime. When I think of how my career has gone, it has been, unfortunately, by pure chance that many things have happened to me, which should not be so. And I want to make sure that for the next generation of African female creators, you don't have to rely on chance or luck or class or privilege or how accessible things are to you to be able to make it to platforms like this. So Jane Can Do, when people ask me what it means to me, I say LinkedIn, but for African women in the creative and cultural industries, because what we are looking to do is to have one platform that puts every woman in Africa that works in the creative economy on one space, because we deserve to make money out of that trillion billion industry. And currently there's an estimated 2.4 million Africans in the creative economy. And unfortunately, women, according to UNESCO, are still not making as much money. We would love to scale up, but for now, our focus is West Africa because one, this is where I live. And because two, I think the cultural influence of West Africa across the spectrum is unbelievable. And there's so much potential for us to tap into. The idea is to be able to find the next show or the next Beyonce before they are even the next Beyonce. What is different about Jane Can Do is, one, we're giving access to the actor, the director, the writer, anybody in the creative sector across the 6 different segments. We want you to be able to put your portfolio online in a way that creators, distributors, and buyers will find easy to collaborate with, find easy to work with you. But the most important thing for us is that outside of it being a microsite that can host your portfolio, which you can do anywhere else, we are creating and developing an online database of all the African female creatives. And so when it comes time to get information or assets or to get feedback, we know we have the data to back it up. And so when we do make demands at a policy level, we know that it's going somewhere because we have the information to back it up. We are looking at being able to create opportunity for people to collaborate within subsectors. As a strategist looking for a videographer, all I would need to do is to go into the videographer section, browse a few of the portfolios and pick somebody that I believe I can work with. Long term, we are looking at even in creating an algorithm that helps you to enable you to decide which people work best together in a team, which temperaments are easier to work with, which is an aspect of behavioral analysis that when it comes to teamwork, we usually ignore. We're also looking at giving you direct access to the buyers and distributors. And so there's no third person and cutting you down. If you look at the gallery and arts institution currently, you would see that some actors are making 40% less than what they should be making due to events and things that are beyond their control. And most importantly, we're looking to create community through created live events that connect women. And at the bottom line for us is that we have data for policy reform at systematic continental level. because we believe that change, again, can only be happening at a systematic level. If we want to be able to eliminate bias in hiring processes, if we want to be able to eliminate bias in paying people, if we want to be able to eliminate bias in how we even treat the creative economy at a national level, we need the data to back it up, and this will give us access to that. The goal for us is to have 20,000 African women in the creative sector within the next decade, because we believe that there's a Jane for every job. And regardless of where that Jane is located, we are able to connect them to somebody who is interested in their work. Like I said, this is Jane Can Do, and our core goal is to help influence policy for the future creative economy so that everybody on this platform who is a creative can also benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pam.
You.
Again, an awesome pitch, and you've had a very unique journey of this program, with the pivoting of different ideas and arriving at Jane Can Do. How has the program helped you kind of navigate these different ideas that you had that now culminating into Jane Can Do?
I think, like you said, it's been really interesting because right from the start, I have been very adamant about starting anything because I'm very resistant to entrepreneurship. I might be the only person on this platform who is extremely anti-entrepreneurship, but in the course of the program, as we went through the various ESG principles, applying them to real life scenarios, as we were meeting founders who were actively incorporating all these principles into their work, I realized that the problem is we don't have as many people incorporating ESG into their work. And so it makes entrepreneurship look in a certain light that many will not find appealing. It has been really interesting arriving at this journey where I woke up one morning and said, okay, I actually do want to do this. And I think it's easier for me to be actively involved. And I feel without this, I would not have arrived at that. So yeah, it would take me a while to process all of that, I think.
Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you again for joining us and pitching Jane Can Do.
It's lovely to hear your pitch, Pam. And yeah, building a community and you're solving a problem. You're an entrepreneur.
So, last up but not least, Alfred. You there? Brilliant.
Yes.
You're a 13th group. Over to you, sir.
So good morning. My name is Alfred, Adusah, here to present to you 30 group. So this is Africa. Long ago, we were great civilizations making things happen, but we made a very big mistake when we decided that things were more important than our human resource, and we were selling our human resource. We paid a lot of consequences for this. We were known as the dark continent for a long time, but today things are changing. Our leaders are beginning to look towards our people as our greatest resource, and some investments have started going there. At 13 Group, we believe that the only way that Africa can change is if we invest heavily in our human resource. So we organize, equip, and deploy our human resource into problem-solving startups that will be of benefit of the employees themselves, the continent, and the world. So we work in two ways. We have inward startups and outward startups. The inward startups focus on increasing the human development index rating of Africa, which is healthcare, education, shelter, and the basics that make humans thrive. On the outward startups, we are focused on demystifying the unicorn, which is, in our definition of a unicorn, is a profitable company making $100 million or more. Not because we want to stroke our ego, but this is the kind of money needed to achieve what we are trying to achieve on the continent. As a group, we take 25% of the profits of the subsidiaries, no matter how much shares we hold. We believe that 75% should always go in growing the respective business. We do not really have competitors, but we have collaborators. And why I say we don't have competitors is because any company trying to improve the human capital of Africa is helping us achieve our goal. We have the enablers like NEXUS who have put things like this together so we can interact and learn. We have the funders and we have the actors like 13 Group that are actually on the ground to do the work and the heavy lifting. This is very important because we are on a ticking time bomb. At 2040, the working force of Africa will be at 1.1 billion, which will be higher than China and India. Where are we going to put these people? So it's urgent that a lot of players come in and try and create a vibrant African economy so that all these people can find something to do. We are going to the market through Ghana, and at 13 Group, it's more of an idea. So we want to set a powerful example in our country that by increasing, it's possible to increase the lifestyle of the people within a generation with such a model so that other African countries and other entrepreneurs can replicate the 13 Group model so we make the process faster because as I said, it's time bound. So far at 13 Group, we have 4 startups in our group. We have Kalsa, which does construction. We have Build Pulse, which is building interactive business software. We have Lenubien that is tackling personalized cosmetics, and Spirit Algo, which is experimenting use cases in the Web3 space. So the Kalsa currently is our biggest revenue generator, which gives us, since it starts in March last year, it has been able to generate about £310,000. On the other hand, our outward startups we are still investing, we are still doing research to try and figure out what paths to take to get that $100 million business we spoke about in the beginning. So this is the team behind 13 Group working tirelessly every day to get things done. And these are some of the investors that have backed us along the way. Our biggest ESG motive is inclusion. We want the Black people to take part in what is happening in the global world. And what we are asking for is the people. We need insights to be able to know how to go. So if there's anyone out there that knows anything that can help us achieve this vision we have just shared or any support, please feel free to contact us and let's see how we can collaborate. Thank you.
Alfred, absolutely brilliant. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed working with you on this program to kind of even just hear what your vision is for 13 Group and help you, shape some of your thinking in how you might approach building it out for the future. How has this program helped you shape your thinking and different things that you might do to build 13 Group into what we've just heard it's going to be?
So the program, though, it has been very helpful. So, we have different startups within 13 Group at different stages. So everything that was taught applied to one of them because there were different things going on. And this is the first time that 13 Group has been pitched to an audience because it's always the individual startups being pitched to investors for a particular reason. So in our one-on-one sessions, we're able to discover that there's value in pitching the group. And that even made me, for the first time, I put everybody together. This is the first time everything has been put together like this. So they even gave me more clarity in what we were doing, just trying to communicate it to someone else. And I'm very grateful for that.
We've been, truly appreciative to have you on the program, Alfred. And so, I look forward to keeping in touch and, it's hearing more about the progress of 13 Group. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, I echo Anthony's words to yourself, Alfred. It's been a pleasure to see and hear your contribution to keep the energy high, and to also bring your background and your expertise to others within the program. Yeah, we look forward to continuing to have that relationship and yeah, see how things progress.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you everyone for joining us, to founders of Cohort 4, pitching your amazing companies. Thank you to all of you who've watched, and also to Andrew, who joined us in sharing more about ClickTrain. Cohort 5.
Yeah, Cohort 5. Yeah, so we kicked Cohort 5 in September, taking a small break for summer. But we've already got people, interesting companies involved. Some touching on some of the subject matters we've heard today. So it's good to see that there's a sort of continuity of effort to problem solve particular areas. And yeah, also just like you said, just saying thank you to those who have tuned in, the wider members of the cohort who you might have heard from today, but were equally as impressive and supports you into your journey. Those of you who are looking to move to the UK in particular, looking to meet you firsthand, and also those who tuned in on an inquisitive or investor background, do reach out to us either through the Eventbrite link. There should be our contact details on there, or drop a note to Anisa at senadornexus.co.uk, and we can pick up the conversation. Or if you want to drop something into the chat, please feel free to. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's great to work with founders, and we look forward to carrying on the journey.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone.